This week on Inside the Summit League, lots of hoops coming up. Last week of the regular season, and seeding for the Summit League tournament still way up in the air for both the men and the women. Mike Dahm of South Dakota State coming up, talking about 51 points that he scored at Fort Wayne last week. And we will meet Matt Mooney at South Dakota. Can the Air Force transfer lead the Coyotes to a regular season championship? We will relive this unbelievable shot by Khy Kabellis at North Dakota State. And we will see what Denver star Joe Rosga was doing in Italy this past summer. Welcome to the show. All of that coming up in a bit. And we start with the first league championship of the winter/spring sports season, and that is swimming and diving, hosted again this year in Indianapolis by IUPUI. And the Jaguars did what they could. Both IUPUI teams finished second in the team standings, but the Denver domination continues. Denver has been in the Summit League for 4 years now, and the Pioneers have won this championship every year. The Pioneers set 2 individual Summer League records on Saturday. They set a new relay record, and in total they set 16 new championship records over the 4-day event. Denver's Kyle Robrock was named Swimming Championship MVP. He is now a 2-time champion in the 50 free. He also won the 100 back earlier in the week, and Robrock now has 5 individual titles in his career. His Denver teammate Joanna Rojas was named Women's Swimming Championship MVP. She won 3 individual titles and now has 7 championship wins. And this is crazy. Denver wins every swim event in the championships this year, all 34 of them. And as the Pioneer men and women win team titles for the 4th year in a row, even though everybody else was gunning for them.
We want to have a championship experience, and I think it's good to have that target on your back. And not only to be the Summit League champion, but to be the best mid-major team in the country, be in the top 25, and our teams are doing that. It's been fun. The Summit League's been great. This is an awesome venue to have a championship in. It prepares us for NC2As. It helps us qualify for NC2As. And had some fast swimming, and we keep getting faster.
On the diving boards, IUPUI wins both individual titles. Jaguar senior Melissa Berger wins both the 1 meter and the 3 meter competitions. She is the women's championship MVP.
It means so much. Honestly, I think it's just a great representation of all the hard work I put in over the past 4 years. I came here as a freshman who'd never touched 3 meter, and I was terrified to walk up there and even jump off. And now to say that I'm a champion on the 3 meter and the 1 meter, which I wasn't expecting at all, I feel extremely blessed and honored to have that privilege.
Well, congrats to all. And IUPUI, by the way, will host the NCAA Swimming and Diving Championships as well, and they start on March 15th. Up next on the championship schedule is indoor track and field, and South Dakota State will be the host. They will do it all inside the new Sanford Jackrabbit Athletic Complex in Brookings. South Dakota State men were runner-up last year in North Dakota State. And on the women's side, the Bison women will be in the running to win the indoor team championship for the 10th year in a row. And they get started at 9:30 Friday morning. They'll finish up with all the track finals on Saturday afternoon, and you can follow all of the results on the Summit League website. Well, there's still lots of basketball yet to play with the Summit League tournament coming up in Sioux Falls, and there have been some fantastic dunks and buzzer beaters and plays that make you say, wow. But there was nothing quite like the shot that North Dakota State's Khy Kabellis made against Denver last week.
A special edition of One-on-One this week. Khy Kabellis, the shot heard round the world. Falling out of bounds. This is the spot right here, Khy, where you were falling out of bounds, almost falling into the Denver bench, and you flipped it with your left hand behind your back and swish.
Oh my goodness. Khy Kabellis just threw it in Denver's basket. I have never seen that.
Ever seen anything like that before? Ever been a part of anything like that before?
No, definitely not. No. No.
So when you're coming over here, let's kind of reenact it a little bit now. What are you thinking? I mean, the ball's going out of bounds. What are you seeing and what are you thinking?
It's coming. The ball's kind of loose. I get a little handle on it, and I know Mackey's like behind me. Got some other Denver players over there. But I heard Dexter like kind of on the far side of the court, so I figured if I could kind of loft it above, you know, some of the Denver guys, that I could hit one of my teammates. I put a little too much air on it. And then...
Now, Dave Richmond, the head coach, says you guys do work on some goofy shots from time to time. You ever practice anything that goofy?
Never. No. Goofy probably for me is just a half-court shot, but besides that, nothing.
I mean, I was kind of in shock. I was like, did that really go in? And, you know, it was a crazy play, and, you know, luckily it didn't come down to have any effect on the game, but, you know, you don't see that every day, that's for sure. I kind of just turned up and I was like, wow, that really happened. It was a weird play.
So tell me about what it was like in the aftermath of that. It's on ESPN, it's on CBS College Sports, it's everywhere. What was that experience like for you on social media?
It was really shocking, but like I didn't think much of it after it happened. It was just the next play, but then after the game when I just saw everything on Twitter, it was just like, wow, this is really on a life of its own.
And I'm sure you were glad, your dad was here for that, but I'm sure you're glad it didn't cost you guys the game. You're up 20 at the time, and you're able to hang on and win by 18 points.
Yeah.
That was probably the most important
Yeah,
thing, right?
definitely. If it was a close game, I would have been very upset, and Dave probably would have been pretty mad at it too.
I mean, what do you do? That's one of the craziest things we've ever seen. It may end up on SportsCenter tonight. I'm not even joking. That was unbelievable. This, people will see this again later tonight. Can you believe that?
All right, let's try it again. We're going to one more time. Now they say one in a
Let's do
lifetime
it.
for this. So we'll see what happens, Khy. I'm going to throw it over here, and you got to use that left hand again, all right?
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, should I try it?
Go ahead.
I'll
Yeah.
give it a shot. You throw it out there for me. I got to use my left hand, too.
Okay.
Oh!
That's pretty close.
I almost had a chance at that, didn't I?
Yeah, that was a lot better than that.
That just goes to show you how freakish it is and how tough it is to actually hit that shot with your hand. Guy, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a part of that.
No, thank you.
And it was fun to be here for that, too.
Yeah.
All right, Khy Kabellis, one-on-one, a special edition.
And by the way, by rule, that shot counted for 2 points for Denver. NDSU still won the game by 18. Well, up next, more Summit League insanity. A performance definitely out of the ordinary. The fourth highest scoring output in one game ever by a Summit League player. South Dakota State's Mike Dahm breaks it down next.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, South Dakota Corn, and Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort.
Welcome back. South Dakota State's Mike Dahm is the Summit League Player of the Week and the Basketball Writers of America National Player of the Week after his 51-point performance last Saturday at Fort Wayne. And before that night, there had been one other 50-point game in Jackrabbit men's basketball history. That was Nate Walters with 53, also at Fort Wayne. That was back in 2013. Jackrabbit assistant coach Rob Klinkenfuss was the only Jackrabbit player or coach that was there for that game and was there on Saturday when Dahm went for 51 against Fort Wayne. Here are Coach Rob and player Mike on how it all went down.
We were able to witness a big-time performance on a big stage. You know, it was a game our program needed, and our guys did a great job of when they had opportunities to score around him, they jumped up and made shots, and yet they did a great job of finding him because obviously, you know, the heater was on a little bit and he was cooking. I think he missed his first 3 threes, you know, and he just had a little different look in his eye. I'll be honest, it's kind of the first time I've seen that out of him, where he's like, oh, it feels right tonight, you know. I mean, we've seen him get 30 how many times, but he even had he just had a little different edge about him going into this game, I think.
It was a chance for us to sweep the only team in the Summit League this year for us, going 2-0 against them. So I definitely was a little more locked in and engaged, and during the game I just felt like I got lost in it. The only thing I could think about a couple times is, man, I missed a ton of three-pointers. I thought that to myself a couple times during the game, but no, I was definitely locked in.
You could just kind of tell that Mike felt good about it, you know, how the ball was coming out, and he had that look, and TJ talks about imposing as well. He had it that night, you know, and but he scored it on the block. He's free throw line, you know, from the arc. He got it in a lot of different ways, and we needed every one of them. We really did. He made big shots at big times. It wasn't all up 8 or down 10, you know, when some of that stuff happens. It was in big moments, big situations, and that's a pretty special deal.
We went there earlier for a shoot around, and it's definitely a shooter's gym, and I just felt super good about the rims and my shot, so everything felt like it was clicking during the game.
It's hard to ask a guy to go get 30, and you're sure never going to ask a guy to go get 50.
I just got to thank the guys for giving me the ball, giving me the confidence that they put in my hand to shoot some of the shots I do.
I had people during the game that were involved in the game. How many's he got? I mean, so everybody in the gym knew, like, Mike had it rolling.
The final, like, free throws I think I was shooting, and I just looked over towards the bench, and everyone on the bench was just, like, holding up their hand 5-0. And I wasn't putting it together at the time. I was just, like, trying to focus on making the next free throw. And then right as the buzzer went off, the guys were just like, bro, you just went crazy. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't think anything of it at the time.
He blew it for 53. I haven't even talked to him about that yet, but he missed the front end of 1-1. And, you know, for a guy that shoots 85% from the free throw line, that's probably not completely fair. But I'd take my chances at him getting 53 if we give him another 1-on-1, I'll tell you that.
It's funny, I thought about that too. That right after the game, I was like, that one dang free throw got me. And so it is what it is. I'll take what I got.
We played at the Coliseum when Nate did it. So they had the NBA line out. And Nate was making shots from beyond the NBA, like fadeaway challenge threes from beyond the. And when the line's out there, you notice it a little bit. But then when you go back and watch Mike's film, like he made some bombs too. I mean, it wasn't like all his feet were 2 inches behind the line.
This year, you know, coaches really opened it up to me to just full freedom movement around the court. And I think that obviously in the off season, I'd say this is the best shape that I've been in so far for my college season. So my ability to just run around the court, I feel like helps out all the guys. It's going to get other guys open too, especially if the defense is playing a certain way.
Crazy to see them both. Pretty lucky to be able to sit on the bench and watch those guys do that. Try to get. This is no knock, but you try to get people out of the way a little bit because everything's going so well for one. And we do it for anybody on our team if it's going like that. You just got to figure out a way to get them the ball and get people out of the way and continue to score at a high rate. We talked about it as a staff. It's pretty special. We can coach for a long time, and the chances of us seeing another 51 or a 53, I mean, it's slim to none.
It's just crazy to think that out of the 351 teams, you know, 2 of the top scoring performances in whatever the last 4 years have come from South Dakota State. So that's pretty cool to be a part of.
Well, that win by South Dakota State, part of another week where anything could happen in the league. And up next, we will take a look at how it all stands in men's and women's hoops as we hit the last week of the regular season. Welcome back. We are in the last week of the regular season in Summit League basketball. And going into this week, no idea how the seeding is going to shake out for the league tournaments. We do know this. The Western Illinois women are in position to win their first regular season championship since 2006. The Leathernecks beat South Dakota State. Got 20 points, 6 assists from Emily Clemens in that game. Big win for Western to get them to 11-3 in league play. South Dakota is also still a contender for the league title. The Coyote women pick up 2 more wins at home. Abigail Fogg is the Summit League Player of the Week, had 27 points against Oral Roberts, and then 14 points and 10 rebounds against Omaha. So, going into Wednesday night's games, USD and Western Illinois at 11-3, South Dakota State a half game back, and IUPUI in there at 10-4. They could all finish tied at 12-4, and they would all be considered league co-champions at that point, but IUPUI would win the tiebreaker if that happens, and the Jags would be the #1 seed in the tournament. As for the men, just as nuts. North Dakota State goes to double overtime to beat Western Illinois 100-91. Garrett Covington with 32 points in that loss for Western Illinois. Paul Miller with 29 for the Bison as NDSU stays in the race to win the regular season. And it is coming down to NDSU and USD. South Dakota has won their last 4 games, and they have averaged 90 points per game in the last 3. So, again, going into Wednesday night's games, the Yotes and the Bison tied at the top. They both finished with 2 games on the road. If they tie, South Dakota holds the tiebreaker, and a tie is a pretty good possibility. We have had men's co-champions in 3 of the last 4 Summit League seasons. Up next, speaking of South Dakota, we will meet Matt Mooney, a first-year guy at USD who could be the guy to lead the Coyotes to their first Summit League championship. Welcome back. The men's basketball team at the University of South Dakota is in contention to win the school's first Summit League regular season championship, and a transfer from Air Force is one of the biggest reasons the Coyotes have a shot. Here is Kelly Stewart in Vermilion.
After his high school career, Matt Mooney chose the Air Force Academy as the place to continue his education and his time on the court. It's a Mountain West school. You get to play in front of big crowds in nice arenas, but being a military academy, as one might imagine, it's not your typical college experience.
It's not for everybody, but I gave it a shot. I was there for 2 years, and I had great friends, great friendships, loved the coaching staff, loved the basketball program. But I just wasn't happy aside from that.
As difficult as it was, something had to change.
It was the hardest decision of my life to leave. It was harder than the decision to go there in the first place. But once I made that decision, I never looked back, and I love it here at USD.
After the NCAA didn't grant Mooney a waiver, he had to sit out for 1 year due to Division I transfer rules. For a kid who pretty much lives in the gym, not being able to compete outside of practice was definitely a challenge.
I knew coming in I probably had to sit out a year. And it's awful. Like, knowing you can play and just not being able to, it is really hard.
But with the right attitude, the benefits of a redshirt year can pay off.
You got a whole year to get better, and it doesn't use up a year of your eligibility. At times the year can go by really slowly, but you see a lot of guys get a lot better in that year because they put a lot of time in.
Practice became Mooney's game days, and his ability to make plays within Craig Smith's motion offense was evident.
That was one thing that really stuck out with Matt during his redshirt year is he is not afraid of anything. He's fearless. And some guys get a little hesitant if they miss 3 or 4 shots in a row. Matt just believes he's going to make the next one.
That confidence has been obvious throughout this season. Mooney leads the Coyotes in scoring, steals, and minutes played. And if the game is on the line, you can take a good guess at who's going to have the ball in his hands.
Matt Mooney continues his incredible afternoon.
Because of his natural instincts and because of his skill level, we want to put him in those kinds of positions.
Up next, another Summer League star who spent his summer in Italy. Take a little trip with Denver's Joe Rosga when we come back.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, South Dakota Corn, and Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort.
Welcome back. Well, we have talked about Joe Rosga at Denver, his great bond with his little brother, his emergence as a star in the Summit League, and to add some intrigue for this young man, he added some world travel to his resume over the summer. Here is Shane Carney in Denver.
Over the summer, Denver men's basketball sophomore Joe Rosga had the opportunity to play a lot of basketball. Much like any other student athlete, he focused his time on improving his fundamentals while also learning how to grow as a leader. What set his summer apart from anyone else's is Rosga had the opportunity to develop his game 5,000 miles away in Italy.
It was a great experience. It was an unbelievable experience. I was very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it. Coach Billups was the one who got me involved with that, and I had a lot of fun with it. There's a new level of competition, and it's their job over there. So that's how they get paid, and they have to perform every night in and night out. So they were going as hard as they could, and we were playing well. We went 4-1 on the trip, and it was just a great experience.
You know, he went with a group of guys who actually needed that training also, and to be able to come out of that comfort zone of shelling up when times get hard and opening up, and it was Christian based, so he had some different elements there that one, he can dive into and be comfortable with, and 2, he can actually enjoy the experience. So I think that trip in itself helped Joe to be more social and to be comfortable in his own skin.
Rosga first flew to Georgia to meet the coaches and teammates that he would be traveling with through the Athletes in Action program. After a few practice sessions there, the squad then took to the air. While Rosga understood his main objective must remain the development of his game, he also wanted to make sure he soaked in all the culture Italy has to offer in his downtime.
The way they live over there is just so much more simple than the way we live here. They get up, go to work every day, come home, and they're very family oriented, and the way they eat is different too. Just the generosity they show, and the people there are just different from over here, and they're very nice.
Because of the success of his trip, Rosga urges his fellow Pioneers to broaden their horizons as well, something Coach Billups appreciates and wants to provide for his entire team one day.
You know, as a team, we're planning on going to Europe as a group, either next summer or the summer after, and every last one of our guys are excited about it. They want to do it. You know, most of the guys want to play in Europe or play professional basketball, so it'll give them a chance to see it and live it, and you know, they'll be able to make a better and more conscious decision after we experience it.
It's cool to see and to get to do. Most people don't get to go out of the country their whole lives, and to be able to go with a group of teammates and brothers and play games together against pro competition, it's something that you can't really compare to anything else, and most people don't get to experience.
Well, Rosga and the Pioneers finished the regular season on Saturday at South Dakota State. That game will have some significance in the seeding for the Summer League Tournament. So will South Dakota at IUPUI, North Dakota State plays at Omaha, and Fort Wayne at Western Illinois. And same for the women's games on Saturday. North Dakota State at Oral Roberts, Fort Wayne at IUPUI, Denver is at Omaha, and the game that could determine the regular season champion, South Dakota at Western Illinois. And then the seeds will be set. The Summer League Tournament starts March 4th in Sioux Falls. We'll see you next week.